All right, so I'm working on this thing again. The nice thing is that I actually have a mock-up motor now, so I slammed this thing back together because the new turbo is going to be here tomorrow. And yeah, we can actually get started on making the new turbo kit. So I'm gonna throw this in the bike. I got it pretty ghetto right now. I'm just sitting on a floor jack, and I'm gonna throw this in, get the mounts all tightened back up, and yeah, I might have to throw this cover back on too, but or the other case half, like where the water pump sits. But this is actually all trash, as you can see. That's all beat up. So yeah, this will be nice, because if I ever buy another one of these bikes, I could just use this motor as a, you know, mock-up motor. So yeah, let me get all this stuff back in, and I'm gonna get a little footage of that. So give me one sec. All right, so I got the rear swing arm bolt back in. Now I just need to throw these two mounts back on. So one right here, other on the other side, obviously, with the through bolt through the front of the case. It's actually pretty easy. Kind of pissed off that it took as long as it did when I first took this motor out of here, because I didn't know that the trick to it was to basically just tilt the motor towards the side of the bike that you're or tip it towards the opposite side of the bike that you're putting it in, and you basically put it in head first, and it makes it a lot easier. So I'm gonna throw those two mounts on, and then we'll talk about turbo placement. So give me one sec. All right, so I got the mock-up motor in. Everything is all torqued down. Let's see. So yeah, this will give me a really good starting point to as far as fitment goes for the new turbo setup. I am still using this turbo as a guideline. I mean, the new one will be here tomorrow. I'm just pretty much just doing this for video purposes. The new one is physically larger than this one. Or actually, let me reiterate that. The wheel size is larger, turbine and compressor, but it is about the same footprint. Something I will be doing different this time is I'll be using an internal wastegate just to simplify everything. As you can see with this one, yeah, now you guys can actually see how Frankenstein this is. But I mean, I might actually drop some pictures in the video just to show you how much this had to be modified in order to get this to work, because the stock EcoBoost turbine housings are absolutely huge. It took so much work to get this thing down to this footprint, and I wish I could find a turbo like, you know, this size footprint wise, because a small turbine housing is key to making an actual turbo fit on this thing, and, you know, take ergonomics into account. Because most of all turbine housings, they always, especially internal wastegate turbine housings, they tend to be a little on the long side. So actually, I think I have one in here. Probably got rid of it though, like an idiot. See if it's in here. No, I don't see it. This is probably buried back there. So yeah. All right, so I know a lot of people are curious on what I'm doing different on the new setup. So I'll start off right off the bat. The new turbo And this is just a crude mock-up, so take this with a grain of salt, because I'm playing around with the idea of relocating one of these radiators. That is the absolute last ditch effort, fitment wise, because I want to try to retain those in the stock location. So thinking maybe right here, something like that. And obviously that turbine inlet will be pointed downward, because the good thing about mounting it in this direction is this is just fitting within the wingspan of the bike. So it kind of acts as the fail-safe measure. Just in case this thing ever fail, it would never hit this, because it would always be on this fairing right here. I'm actually entertaining the idea of putting like a inward frame slider. I want it to try to avoid welding on the frame, but I will if I have to. So, and what I'm meaning by an inward frame slider is basically just like a reinforcement behind this fairing right here to basically add some rigidity so it doesn't collapse, like if the bike were to ever fall on its side. As far as weight placement goes, this also makes more sense from a weight bias standpoint, because it's putting the turbo like right on the center spine of the bike, as opposed to like my last setup, how I had it hanging off of the side right here. So yeah, this will make it a lot better from a controllability standpoint. So I'm thinking something like this. The fork, I still do have a really good turning radius with the forks. But I mean, I'm willing to give up a little. I don't think I'm gonna have to give up a lot of turning radius, because it seems to clear pretty good. But I think this might be the way to go going forward. And like I said, the turbine housing will actually be pointed downward. So what I might be forced to have to do is come off with a standoff off the center spine of the bike and use it as a structural point. So the new turbo will not actually be V-band. It'll be a T25 flange, and at first I was opposed to doing that because the V-band stuff makes mounting and disassembly a lot more simple. But I really don't. I want to try to minimize the amount of welds as much as possible, because every weld point is prone to failure. If I can keep everything as just one piece with zero welding on it, is less chance of something breaking under stress. Especially with how wild I ride this thing. And I know people are going to destroy me in the comments for that, because a lot of people think I ride really soft, but it's just, you know. So what I'm thinking of doing is coming off of this spine with like maybe a 1/4 inch piece to act as a brace, and that'll actually utilize the same bolts that bolt the hot side to the turbine housing. And then I'll basically use the back end of those threads to go through the brace that's welded on here. So, you know, so it isn't just, so the hot side isn't bearing the weight of the turbo. Because things tend to move around, especially when they're hot. Especially turbine housings, especially hot sides. And yeah, it's just you know, a safety measure just to make sure everything stays in place. So like I said, I think this is the ticket. So I'm shooting for mounting the turbo like this. And I did remove, if you guys are familiar with the YZ stuff, let me see if I can find it. Where'd it go? This right here. This piece right here I removed. I might retain this center piece right here, the triangular piece, because these do act as mounting holes for the top of the fairing, and I don't want my fairing flapping around. So what I might do is, since the bike technically isn't NA anymore, I'll probably cut these arms off, these ram air tubes. And this is actually going to buy me a lot of space for charge pipe routing too behind the fairing. Some people just didn't understand that the last setup was pretty much just a proof of concept just to see if it'll work before I actually started pouring money into this thing. So that's why I had the pipe, you know, running all crazy on the side of the fairing and stuff. That it was never intended to be a permanent solution. So this time it'll be fully revised. I'm actually going to make a new intake plenum. This will probably be a canister style, because a lot of the issues that I fought with the last setup was sealing. And as you can see, I think those bolts are only like M6, and I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it really wasn't enough clamping force. Like, if you look at the amount of space between each fastener, that is just prone for a lot of leakage. So I won't make that mistake again. But to be fair, I did try to retain as many stock parts as possible. So that was the reason why I stuck with this setup. I wanted to make it relatable, you know, with my followers. Because for the most part, it worked good. I mean, I've seen maybe like 12 pounds of boost, and that's based off the fuel correction table on the Power Commander. So, it couldn't have corrected for fueling in that area unless it's, you know, saw that amount of boost. So, did it see 12 pounds forever? No. And that's a big part of why I'm changing this, is because it was like damn near impossible to get this to seal. So it you know, it caused for a lot of erratic data. So I'm just basically removing that out of the equation this time. I'll probably more than likely end up putting a V-band on the throttle body. Brett over at Racer's Edge in Arizona, he actually makes a billet intake manifold boot to go on the mouth of the intake port. So I'll probably swap to that as well. And I'll probably just, you know, wing it as far as intake plenum wise. Whatever I could fit, you know, in there comfortably, that's probably what I'll go with. I mean, the rule of thumb is 4 to 5 times the CC of the bike, so that puts me at around 26 to 3,000 CFM. I'm trying to think what else I could touch on. Yeah, because a big part of this is I kind of want to try to retain as much stock paneling as possible, because I don't really like hacked bikes, like, you know, with holes all in the panel and stuff. I want it to be stock appearing, and that's a big reason why I did the headlights behind here. I want it to look like a dirt bike, and a lot of people don't understand that. So yeah, this time I'm thinking this time this will be a pretty good setup. This is my third setup. The people that were following early on know about the GT15 44 Garrett turbo. That one ended up being a little bit too small for my application. No, it is not a bad turbo. It just was not correct for the application that I was using it for. And this time I will be going with another Garrett turbo. They make really good products. You know, I want to represent this turbo well, because this is, you know, some guys have done the turbo 450s before. Most of them are snow bikes. So, you know, you really can't apply their setups to a dirt bike, because it wouldn't be functional. So yeah, tomorrow I get the turbo. I'm gonna keep the specs tight-lipped for now. I'll go into that in tomorrow's video. And yeah, stay tuned. We're about to make a lot of progress. So a big part of it was getting this mock-up motor in. So now that that's out of the way, yeah, we can start Something else I want to note is a couple of things that are being relocated. I'm getting rid of this. That looked pretty ghetto, so I will be doing AN fittings this time, and these connections will be getting cut off the radiator. I'm actually going to, I don't know exactly what position they'll be in, but they will be, you know, tucked away this time, because I need as much room as I can get up here as possible. So this will probably, this is the piece that actually goes in this side cover that bolts to here. This will probably get eliminated, and I'll probably use a more discreet AN fitting here as well. Let's see what else. The fender, this has to get cut for this to make all this work. So you can see the 4 mounting bolts are right here, and they bolt to those 4 bolts right there. So if this was mounted, it would look, you know, something like that. But you see that black line that I made, because the rear fender is right in the area where the new turbo will be. And to be safe, because as of right now, I do have my supermoto tires on. So, and these are smaller diameter than my dirt tires, which are over here. I'll probably pull this front tire off, put the dirt tire on, because obviously larger diameter, less clearance. If it clears that, it'll definitely clear this. So, yeah, I marked the fender right here. I'm getting a new one anyways, so this will be, you know, for mock-up purposes. So, hacking it off right there, or actually a little bit further behind where the mounting bolt is, so probably like right at that parting line. That'll get all hacked off. And yeah, stay tuned, guys. I got a lot of stuff coming, a lot of parts coming in the mail this week. Yeah, so just be on the lookout.